How many of you are here? How many children are here?
Now, since I've been standing here, I've been hearing movement from behind me. You seeing anything?
I'm trying to focus in on a couple of lights.
You have to shout as loud as you can. Something touched my hand. Ooh.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Even
sir.
poison. Manufactured
Yes, sir.
record.
Yes, sir.
Go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here we go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here we go.
It's like a light is in my face, but I can't fall for you. I close my eyes and drift away. I've overdosed on you. Cause then you wake up dead one day.
Standing within a woodland of an English hamlet hiding is a haunting ruin of a building that has almost vanished. This hamlet is known as Bedham, and on its lands there once stood a number of houses scattered amongst the trees, and the building that seems out of place is Bedham Mission Church. The church was also a school, and its history began in 1880 by a man named William Townley Mitford. William Mitford was born on the 27th of June 1817 and died on the 18th of April 1889. William was a Victorian Conservative politician, and he built the church in honour of St Michael and All Angels. He was the sheriff in Bedham in 1847, and the Bedham Manor Farm was not only used as a family home but as a courthouse. Towards the end of the 19th century, the Anglican Church felt that it was important to reach out to rural communities and build mission churches and chapels, often in the most isolated areas, so people from the farming and countryside industries such as woodsmen and charcoal burners were encouraged to attend. Bedham Church was not only a church on Sundays. During the weekdays, it was a school for the local children. Inside, there was a curtain that was drawn across, separating the younger children from the older children, and in total, There were 60 pupils. There were 2 teachers, one being Miss Laura Wakeford and the headmistress, Caroline Day, who ran the school from 1894 until 1920. On Fridays, after school had finished, the curtain was removed, all the school materials were taken away and the chairs were turned to face the altar, ready for Sunday service, which was conducted by the Reverend George Stewart Newbury, the rector of Fittleworth. He was accompanied by a lady who would play the melodeon and harmonium. Despite the 2 annual visits each year from the Mitford family's carpenters, by 1913 the school was found to be in a very poor state, with defective lighting and ventilation. The composer, Edward Elgar, lived in Bedham. It was here that 4 of his masterpieces were born. Edward's wife Alice recalls hearing the bell ringing from the church, celebrating the signing of the peace treaty for the end of World War I in 1919. During the Second World War, the Canadian Army headquarters were based nearby on the outskirts of the woodland in the country house called Hawkhurst Court. Hermine, an Austrian housekeeper to the Mitford family who stayed at Bedham Manor Farm, would serve tea and soup to the troops while they were carrying out manoeuvres within the woodland. Close by to the church, there is said to be a secret bunker from World War II, but till this day it remains hidden and it has never been found. Over the following years, the charcoal burners and woodsmen moved into the towns and the need for a school faded away, and it then ceased to exist by 1925. The last wedding was held in the church in 1955, and the church finally closed its doors in 1959. Since then, it has laid abandoned, and to many of passers-by has them look in wonder as to how the church became to be here within the woodland. In 1987, a storm hit the location and a hurricane completely tore away the roof, leaving behind what now stands today. On Wednesday, the 26th of May 2021, the church was vandalised with graffiti, leaving the owners and the local people devastated and heartbroken. The police are investigating this crime. It is also rumoured that nearly half of the children that lived in the woodland who attended the school died from influenza in 1919. The reports of paranormal activity go back many years. Shadow figures, the sound of footsteps, voices of children, and the disembodied cries of a baby coming from the woodland have been heard on many occasions. So here we are back at Bedham Church. Lots of paranormal activity is said to go on here. The owners have given us permission to investigate this location tonight. What is a little bit upsetting for the owners and for the history of this place is that it's been vandalised with graffiti, the spray paint on the walls. The owners are really upset about that. Why someone would want to destroy this church, which is hundreds and hundreds of years old, is, well, it's unbelievable really. But we've got our equipment, we're just setting it up, and we're going to go straight into night vision in a few moments and see what we can capture. Before we go lights out and into night vision, we commence a walkthrough of the location using several devices including a K2 meter to see if there's any disturbance within the electromagnetic field. After a full sweep of the church and surrounding grounds, nothing was detected, so we decided to carry out a short EVP session inside the church to see if we can capture any voices. If you're watching us, you're probably wondering what we're doing here. And we've came here tonight so we can make contact with you, because people say that they've seen you and heard you here. We're not sure if you're part of the church or if you're maybe part of the school. Maybe you lived around here back in the old days. No way, that I just heard a kid's voice. No way. I thought I heard two children. I hear children in front of me coming from the doorway, and the digital recorder has captured what I was hearing. There is a child's scream, followed by a man's voice saying, "That way." After, there is a child's voice that says, "Me too." Here is the audio, the best we can enhance it. Maybe you lived around here back in the old days. No way, that I just heard a kid's voice. Maybe you lived around here back in the old days. No way, that I just heard a kid's voice. We have our static night vision cams in position. We now go lights out, and it is time to start the investigation at Bedham Mission Church.
Okay, so we've come to Bedham Church, which is situated in the middle of the woods. And this church was built around about 1880 and was used not just as a church, but as a school as well. So to start off, I'll introduce myself. My name is Phil, and my friend opposite me is Jeff. Could I ask, if any spirits are here, if you could make yourself known so that we know we're talking to you? Could you say your name now, please? We've travelled quite a long way today to be here. It's taken quite a bit of time and effort. And the reason why we have come here is because we're interested in the history of this place. Now, we can only find so much from history books and from photographs. And that's why we're trying to communicate with you, so we can perhaps find out what your role was here, whether you were involved with the building of this building, whether you attended school here or the church. Now, we've got some equipment around which you won't be familiar with, or you might not be. We have some cameras which will help us see you. And this device I have in my hand here helps me hear you. None of it will do you any harm. As I say, it's just to help us communicate with you. But what I do need is for you to let me know that you can hear my voice. Now you can do that by talking to us. You can do that by moving something within this church. You could touch one of us. Or indeed you could show yourself to us. But for us to communicate with you, we need to know that you're here now. We're going to be here for a while. But give us some indication that you can see and hear us. Tell me your name, please. I'd imagine that you do see people coming in here, probably on a regular basis. Perhaps they're not supposed to be in here, but people are curious. Sometimes people are just coming for a look around. Other times, by the look of what's on the floor and what's on the walls, perhaps not such for a good reason. The walls have been defaced in places, and there's evidence of people having fires in here and things like that. That must upset you. Does it upset you? Is this place dear to your heart? Is this place somewhere where you've enjoyed? Perhaps you've worshipped here? Do you know, sometimes just standing somewhere like this It's so peaceful. I can understand why you'd want to stay here. How it must have been different when the building had a roof, doors, windows, perhaps pews?
Ooh!
What was that, Jeff?
A black mass went right in between me and you and went over here.
Could you come back, please?
A black shadow moves in between Phil and I, and it is captured on all of our cameras. Here is the footage taken from Static Cam 1, followed by the footage on all 3 cameras from all angles.
Perhaps pews?
Ooh!
What was that, Jeff? Perhaps pews?
Ooh!
What was that, Jeff?
A black mass went right in between me and you and went over here.
Okay. Could you come back, please? Perhaps pews?
Ooh!
What was that, Jeff?
A black mass went right in between me and you and went over here.
Okay. Could you come back, please? Well, look, as I was saying, I'd asked for your name, and it may well be that you've told me your name, and I just can't hear it. You have to shout as loud as you can. Something touched my hand. Something just touched my hand. Okay, sorry, please excuse me jumping back, but it felt like you brushed through my hand then. And it made me jump, so I apologise about that. Could you do it again, please? In fact, let me just put this in my pocket. I will hold out my other hand. Is it possible? It's interesting, Jeff, because it's roughly in the same place where you said you saw a black mass move across. And that's where my hand was. It was roughly here. It was quite bizarre. It wasn't a push, or like sometimes you get touched. It felt really weird. It felt like something went through my hand, and there was like tingling afterwards. It was odd. That's why I jumped a little bit, because I hadn't felt something quite like that before.
Phil and I finish the session and make our way back to base camp to set up for the next session. After we leave, our Static Cam 2 inside the church tries to focus on a shadow figure that comes out of the right hand side wall. The camera goes in and out of focus as the figure moves from right to left, then it disappears. Here is the footage, followed by the footage with enhancements. So I've taken a seat where I was sitting earlier, and I thought I could hear children, voices of children. Now, just over here to my left, there is a REM pod, and there is a K2 meter. And if anyone would like to touch them, they will light up and make a noise, and that will let me know that you're here. You no need to be scared of them. They will not harm you. So, let me introduce myself. My name's Jeff, and my friend and colleague standing there holding a camera, his name is Phil. So as I thought I could hear children's voices earlier, can I ask if any children can come forward, come inside the church and say hello to us, please? Whilst Phil was speaking here earlier, a black shadow moved in between us both, and we've reviewed the footage and it is on camera. So can I ask who that was? As I am asking about the shadow figure, a whispering voice is picked up on my digital recorder. We are not sure what is being said, but it could be who's that, what's that, move back. Here is the audio enhanced. And we've reviewed the footage and it is on camera. So can I ask who that was? And we've reviewed the footage and it is on camera. So can I ask who that was? Now, back in the old days, when I say old days, I mean hundreds of years ago, there used to be a settlement here. And they used to cut wood. We've been told that there was kilns here. So it was a tiny, tiny little village. And I guess that this church was the centre of that village. That was a voice, Phil. In exactly the same place right behind me. And it was a child's voice. I hear the disembodied voice of a child say, yes, coming from behind me. Here is the audio taken from my digital recorder. So it was a tiny, tiny little village. And I guess that this church was the centre of that village. That was a voice, Phil. In exactly the same place right behind me. And it was a child's voice. So it was a tiny, tiny little village. And I guess that this church was the centre of that village. That was a voice, Phil. In exactly the same place right behind me. And it was a child's voice. How many of you are here? How many children are here? If you like, we could play a game. What game would you like to play? What's your favourite game? I receive an intelligent response to my question. I ask any of the children what game they would like to play, and a child says, hugging the baby. Here is the enhanced audio. What game would you like to play? What's your favourite game? What game would you like to play? What's your favourite game?
Now I'm stood at the main entrance to the building. This is where children would have come into the school. Now, from reading about the history, this building had dual purpose. It was a school during the week. It's obviously not a very big building, but come the weekend, they've moved things around. And, it become a place of worship. Now, sadly, we weren't fortunate enough to see this building when it was in use. What was it like? I'd imagine as a child that lived in this area, when you came here, it must have been quite exciting. You know, it's such a lovely setting, coming down into this tiny little building to be taught. What subjects were you taught? Did they teach you maths? How about English? Now, since I've been standing here, I've been hearing movement from behind me inside the building. Very faint.
The movement inside the building behind Phil is captured on our static cam too. Here is the audio taken from the static cam.
What subjects were you taught? Did they teach you maths? How about English? What subjects were you taught? Did they teach you maths? How about English? Okay, there's movement to my right then.
Yeah, I heard it. Something moved. And again.
Yeah. Is that you moving towards us? I can't see you, but my friend Jeff may be able to see you with the camera he's using. Could you walk towards him?
Stay there, up there.
I'm not moving. You seeing anything?
I'm trying to focus in on a couple of lights.
Ah,
I'm going all the way in. Down there in the trees.
hmm. Are we talking the trees right in front of us or further away?
Down there in front of me was several white lights moving in the trees, and now they've completely disappeared.
Okay, well, it's certainly not torches.
Too high up. I'd say that we're looking at probably roughly around about 20 feet off the ground. So we're not here for much longer, unfortunately. But maybe there is something else that you can do for us. Again, we have our devices on the floor there. There's the Paralight, the REM pod. And what I've got up here, if you look, you can see a red light. That's a recorder like what I'm holding in my hand, but it's very sensitive. It's set on a different frequency. So if you speak right into that red light, it should pick up your voice. So I'd like to apologise if we've trespassed on your property or caused you any distress. That's certainly not what we're here for. What I'm going to do is, this device with the light on it, as I said, it's a sensitive recorder. I'll put it down lower in case you're a child and you can't reach it up there. So I'm just going to put it down here. I'm just going to put it here. I've just put it there on that brick and it's facing that way. So now you can speak into it. As I say, we're gonna leave shortly. So I'm just going to stand back and we're just going to be quiet for one moment. In fact, for 1 minute. And if you want to say anything, please speak into that recorder that's there on the floor. As we stand in silence, the digital recorder that is on the ground is receiving a message. A man that is saying, "Remember me to our Father." Here is the audio with enhancements. we conclude our investigation at Bedham Mission Church. We would also like to thank the owners for giving us access and for making this investigation possible.